There's a question few are asking about the Tesla Model 2, and it has nothing to do with speed, range, or price. The question is simple. When a driver over 65 needs to turn on the defroster on a cold morning, with heavy traffic ahead, will they be able to do so without taking their eyes off the road? It seems like a small question. But the answer to this question will determine whether the Model 2, expected to hit the market in the second half of 2026, will truly change the lives of those who most need an affordable car, or will become just another pretty product that works better in advertising than in real life. Tesla built its reputation on large screens, digital interfaces, and menus that replace almost all physical buttons. In the Model S, the Model 3, the Model Y, the idea has always been the same. Simplify the dashboard, centralize everything on a screen, and keep the design as clean as possible. For a 30-year-old who grew up with a smartphone in hand, this seems natural. But for a 68-year-old man who has been driving for decades and has learned that each button has a fixed place and an immediate response, this logic can become a serious problem. A physical button doesn't require the driver to read, search, touch, and confirm. It simply responds. And this difference, which seems small on paper, is enormous inside a moving car. What is expected of the Model 2 is precisely a change in this philosophy. There are consistent rumors that Tesla is reconsidering the distribution of controls in this more affordable model, precisely because the target audience is different. It's not about abandoning technology, but about recognizing that well-applied technology is that which disappears when it's not needed and appears clearly when it's urgent. Temperature, volume, hazard lights, and defroster are functions that a driver may need to activate in seconds, under pressure, with divided attention. These controls cannot depend on 2 taps on a touchscreen that reflects sunlight. When someone hears that the Tesla Model 2 might hit the market in the second half of 2026, with a significantly lower price than the brand's current models, the first reaction is relief. Finally, an electric car that doesn't require a 10-year loan to drive off the lot. But there's a hidden trap in this calculation that most people only discover after signing the contract, after getting the keys, after they're already halfway there with no turning back. The purchase price is just the beginning of the story. The real cost of a car is revealed in everyday use, and a car that's difficult to drive takes its toll in ways that don't appear in any financing table. Think about it this way. An older driver who needs to repair a scratch on the bumper because they got distracted looking for the air conditioning controls in a 3-layer menu isn't going to blame the interface. They're going to blame themselves. They'll think they're getting slower, that they're losing their reflexes, that maybe it's time to drive less. And this conclusion, which seems personal, was caused by a design flaw. The wear and tear caused by a car that demands constant attention translates into small mistakes, and small mistakes translate into scratches, minor dents, fines, insurance deductibles, and visits to the body shop. All of this disappears from their wallet so gradually that it never seems to have a clear cause. There is also the emotional cost, which is real even if it doesn't show up on a bill. A driver who feels they are always fighting with their own car begins to avoid situations that were once simple. They avoid parking in tight spaces. They avoid driving at night. They avoid driving when tired, even if they need to. This progressive restriction is not weakness. It's a rational response to an environment that has become hostile. And when a car begins to reduce mobility instead of expanding it, it ceases to be a tool for freedom and becomes a source of anxiety. For those who live on a fixed income and depend on their car to maintain autonomy, this anxiety has a weight that goes far beyond mere discomfort. There's a detail in a car's design that engineers often treat as secondary, but that older drivers consider crucial. It's not the engine, it's not the battery, it's not the navigation system, it's the seat height. It seems too simple to be important, but anyone who has ever felt their knee complain when getting out of a low car on a cold day knows exactly what we're talking about. Getting in and out of a vehicle is an action that happens on every trip, without exception, and when this action requires effort, the body registers it. Not dramatically, not with a sharp pain that draws attention, but with that accumulated discomfort that silently and permanently shapes habits. Based on what we know so far, the Tesla Model 2 should have a more compact silhouette than the Model Y, which is currently the brand's model with the best balance between seat height and ease of getting in. This raises a legitimate concern. Compact cars tend to be lower, and lower cars require the driver to make a downward movement when sitting and an upward movement when standing, which, depending on the state of the knees and hips, can be enough to make the experience uncomfortable. You don't need to have a diagnosed injury to feel this. You just need to be over 60 and have experienced a damp winter to understand what's at stake in this equation. Beyond height, there's the issue of door opening and entry width. A door that doesn't open wide enough forces the driver to enter sideways, twisting their torso in a way that strains the spine and hips simultaneously. In tight parking spaces, this limitation becomes even more severe. The person needs to calculate whether they will be able to get in and out before even stopping the car. And this unconscious calculation reduces the places where they feel comfortable parking. Over time, this means fewer pharmacies, fewer supermarkets, and fewer medical appointments done with ease. A poorly designed door is not just an ergonomic inconvenience. It's a restriction of mobility disguised as a technical detail. There's a very fine line between a car that helps and a car that hinders, and that line is easier to cross than it seems. The driver assistance systems that are becoming standard in modern vehicles, including the one the Tesla Model 2 is expected to bring in the second half of 2026, were designed with good intentions. Lane keeping, automatic braking, blind spot warnings, speed adjustment in traffic. On paper, all of this sounds like intelligent support. In practice, when these systems act unexpectedly, without warning or explanation, the experience inside the car changes completely. The driver stops feeling in control and starts feeling supervised. For an older driver, this feeling is particularly unsettling. Not out of stubbornness, but for a very concrete reason. Decades of experience behind the wheel create a repertoire of decisions that the body executes almost without thinking. A familiar curve, an anticipated braking maneuver, a lane change calculated based on signals that only an experienced driver can read. When an electronic system intervenes in this process uninvited, it is not just correcting an action. It is contradicting a judgment. And contradicting the judgment of someone who has driven safely for 40 years, without warning or explanation, is the quickest way to destroy the trust that should be being built. What differentiates a well-implemented driver assistance system from a poorly implemented one is not the technology itself, it's the communication. A system that warns before acting, that uses clear and visible signaling, that gives the driver enough time to understand what is happening and why. That system can be accepted naturally. A system that simply acts, that pulls the steering wheel without warning, that brakes when the driver didn't expect it, that sounds an alarm without explaining the reason, that system creates tension. And tension inside a car is the opposite of what any safety technology should provoke. The Model 2 needs to arrive with this distinction very well resolved in its software design. There is also the issue of control over the system itself. A driver who decides to disable lane assist on a road they know well, or who prefers to manage their own speed on a familiar downhill stretch, needs to be able to do so easily, without having to navigate menus, without receiving confirmation alerts, and without the system automatically reactivating the next time they start the car. This last point is especially important. When a system reactivates itself after being turned off by the driver, it sends a silent but very clear message. The driver's decision was not respected. And for someone who has spent their entire life making their own decisions, this message does not go unnoticed. You have a question that nobody asks at the dealership, but that every older driver asks themselves at some quiet moment. What happens if something really goes wrong? Not a minor glitch, not a warning light on the dashboard that can wait until the next service. A real, unexpected situation, one of those that doesn't give you any warning before it happens. A power outage at a busy intersection, a dead battery on a dark road, smoke rising from the dashboard without explanation. In those moments, what stands between the driver and chaos isn't the car's most advanced technology. It's the clarity of what to do and the simplicity of the resources available to do it. This is a point where electric vehicles in general, and Tesla in particular, still have a lot to prove to older audiences. The reliance on electronic systems for functions that in conventional cars were purely mechanical creates a layer of uncertainty that is not irrational. A door that only opens with electrical power, a hazard light that depends on a touchscreen to be activated, a dashboard that goes completely dark when the system collapses. Each of these situations, in isolation, may seem improbable. Together, they form a picture that experienced drivers know well. When things fail, they usually all fail at the same time. And it is precisely at this moment that simplicity saves the day. The Tesla Model 2 needs to arrive in 2026 with concrete answers to this scenario. A mechanical door opening lever that works independently of any electronic system. A physical button dedicated to the emergency hazard lights, positioned visibly and easily accessible without needing to look to find it. Windows with emergency operation that don't depend exclusively on the main battery. Alerts that use direct language, real words, complete phrases, instead of generic icons that require the driver to remember what each symbol means in the middle of a stressful situation. These aren't sophisticated requests. They are the basics that any car should offer to anyone at any age. There's another dimension to this problem that goes beyond the driver. A 70-year-old man who gets into a car with his wife, a grandchild, or a friend carries a responsibility that goes beyond his own safety. And when this driver imagines an emergency scenario, he doesn't just imagine himself getting out of the car. He imagines being able to help those beside him. A door handle he can operate with one hand, an audible alert loud enough to guide without confusing, an emergency mode that reduces all functions to the essentials and keeps the passenger compartment safe for the time needed for help to arrive. These details don't appear in launch videos, but they are precisely what determine whether a car deserves to be called reliable. No car is tested in the showroom. It's tested in August, with the sun beating down directly on the roof and the air conditioning battling relentless heat. It's tested early in July, when the door handle is icy cold and the battery has spent the night exposed to temperatures that no technical specification honestly mentions. It's tested in the rain on a typical Thursday, in an unplanned traffic jam, with the defroster on, the wipers at maximum speed, and the range dwindling faster than the driver expected. This is the real-world environment where the Tesla Model 2 will need to prove its worth when it hits the market in the second half of 2026. And this environment is anything but controlled. The impact of weather on an electric vehicle's battery is an issue the industry still communicates poorly. And Tesla is no exception. In extremely cold conditions, lithium-ion batteries lose efficiency significantly. The advertised range under ideal conditions can drop between 20% and 40%, depending on the temperature, the use of internal heating, and the state of charge at the time of departure. For a younger driver living in a large city with abundant charging infrastructure, this variation is manageable. For an older driver living in a smaller city who makes predictable but long journeys and who doesn't have the habit of constantly monitoring the battery percentage, this variation can turn a smooth trip into a situation of real anxiety. Extreme heat presents a different set of challenges. Batteries exposed to very high temperatures for extended periods suffer accelerated degradation, meaning that a car purchased in 2026 may have noticeably less range in 2029 if it has spent 3 summers parked in the sun in hot regions. Furthermore, the thermal management system, which is the set of components responsible for maintaining the battery within a safe temperature range, consumes energy to operate. On very hot days, some of the charge that should power the car is being used to cool the battery. This consumption is rarely clearly visible to the driver, and the absence of this information is precisely the kind of gap that transforms surprise into distrust. There's also the issue of cabin performance during extended waiting times. An older driver who needs to wait in the car, whether in a pharmacy queue, a hospital parking lot, or an unexpected roadside stop, needs to know that the climate control system will continue to function without draining the battery to the point of compromising their return home. This is a concern that seems specific, but it represents a huge portion of the daily use of those in the 65-plus age group. Life at this stage includes more waiting time, more stops, and more situations where the car needs to be running without being in motion. If the Model 2 doesn't have intelligent and transparent management of this standby power consumption, it will generate exactly the kind of uncertainty that drives this audience away. There's a fear that doesn't show up in satisfaction surveys, but it's present in the minds of almost every older buyer when considering a modern car. It's not the fear of the car breaking down. It's the fear of not understanding what happened when it does break down, of receiving a message on the app with a code that explains nothing, of calling support and being told the vehicle needs to be taken to an authorized center 200 kilometers away, of waiting days without a car, with no estimate, no clarity about what's being done or how much it will cost. This fear isn't irrational. It's been built up over years of real-life experiences with an industry that has learned to complicate the simple and charge for what should be basic. Tesla operates on a service model that differs from the traditional dealership model. There isn't a network of independent mechanics who know the brand's vehicles with the same depth as an authorized technician. There isn't a robust market for alternative parts for newer models. And in most medium-sized Brazilian cities, there isn't a service center within reasonable reach for someone with an urgent problem. For a young buyer living in a capital city, this limitation is a minor inconvenience. For an older buyer living in a smaller town who depends on their car to go to the doctor, the market, and the pharmacy, this limitation can become a serious restriction that wasn't planned for when the purchase was made. Remote diagnostics, one of the tools Tesla uses to identify problems without requiring the car to go to a repair shop, has real potential to change this equation. When it works well, it allows a technician to identify the fault, advise the driver on the urgency of the problem, and in some cases resolve the issue with a software update sent directly to the vehicle. But for this feature to be genuinely useful for an older driver, it needs to be communicated in a way that anyone can understand, without needing a technology course to interpret the result. A message that says, "Anomaly detected in the BMS module, contact support," is not informative. A message that says, "We have identified a problem in the battery system, your car is safe for local use but avoid long trips to the service center," is informative, guiding, and respects the intelligence of the reader. The issue of software updates also deserves attention. Tesla has a habit of releasing over-the-air updates that modify the vehicle's behavior, sometimes significantly. A reorganized interface, a function that has changed location, and adjusted accelerator behavior. For a user who appreciates novelty, this is a benefit. For an older driver who has spent weeks learning where each function was and how the car responded, an unsolicited update can undo all that learning overnight. The Model 2 would need to offer some level of control over when and how these updates are applied, or at least clear and advanced communication about what will change and why, so that the driver can prepare instead of being surprised.